Okay, we will start. Can you hear us online? That's a quiet.
He says he's got his volume all the way up and he can barely hear.
Okay.
Come on.
Just some kind of audio.
Yes. Those look fun.
Can you guys hear? Can I get some like thumbs up or thumbs down if we're actively speaking?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
Patrick, are you hearing us?
Yeah, I'm having a hard time hearing you.
Yeah, it's hard when we're not like actively directed speaking. When people are just mumbling around, it's hard to hear people.
Well, we will start, and if people online have problems hearing us, let us know.
Yeah, if you put it in the chat, I monitor it, and then I just poke at Mike and tell him to speak louder.
Loud.
Oh, I heard Mike well. Mike did great.
I'll scream at the mic. Okay, we'll call this meeting to order at 6:01 on April 16th, FCC regular meeting. And we start the board meeting. Again, welcome on this wonderful weather day. Welcome to those who made it in person, those online. Would you like to do the roll call?
Yes, I would. How did it?
Here.
Thank you. Airport Heights. Let me just make sure we just had 2 people enter. And for everyone just joining, we're doing roll call. No Airport Heights Basher. Bayshore Platte. No, okay. Bear Valley.
Yes, I'm here.
Thanks, Caitlin. Campbell Park.
Here.
Thanks, Kevin. Chukia. What's up, Paul? Just online. We have Paul, downtown.
Here.
Thank you. Eagle River.
Whoever's here.
Thanks, Cliff. Eagle River Valley. I don't think so. Clutha Valley. No. Fairview, we are welcoming Kelly as our new representative. Thank you for coming in person. Girdwood.
Yes.
Woods. Glen Oaks, not present. Government Hill.
Government Hill virtually present.
Thank you. Hillside said they would not be present today. Huffman O'Malley, I also believe is not present today. Midtown was also told us they weren't present today. Mountain View.
Here.
Welcome. North Star. Nope, not yet. Northeast. We have. I see Pamela from Northeast. Old Seward Ocean View.
Here.
Hey Gary. No one from Portage, Rabbit Creek.
Present.
Hey John. Rogers Park. No Maryland this time. Okay. Russian Jack.
Here.
Hi Kathleen. Stanley.
Here.
Hello Evan. Scenic Foothills.
Yep.
Patrick. South Edition.
Here.
Thank you. No one from South Fork. Spenard, not present. Taku Campbell, not present. Tudor, not present. Turnigan Arm, or Turnigan, excuse me. Here. Turnigan Arm.
Present.
Thank you. And University Area.
Here.
Thank you. And we do have 4th.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. So we will move straight on to the consent agenda. I entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda, which is basically tonight's agenda and the minutes from last meeting. Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? If not, I will move to accept it by consent unless anyone objects. Seeing anyone online or in the room. So consent agenda. We'll jump straight into the committee updates. We have first of all financial committee. So treasurer Patrick, would you like to go ahead on this?
You want to present for me?
You want, yes.
Oh, okay.
I can, yeah.
All right.
So Patrick and I said I would present on this. So as we said previously, we moved to quarterly reports for the sake of time because monthly reports, you don't see a lot of change. Also, our report to the muni is done quarterly, so that is also reflected. So there are 2 pages as part of the board packet. The first one is the report that we made for the muni. You can see how we've spent it in our categories. As you may be familiar with, we moved to clearer reporting where we went back to reporting on the 5 categories to the municipality instead of giving them the whole long list. That gives us more flexibility if we have to move between a line here and a line there. Spending is going as we expected. We are a little bit above from last year when it comes to our training grant, and that is because the summit happened in March instead of doing it at the end of the year like we did the town halls last year. So we've spent most of our training budget, but the rest of everything is coming in as scheduled. Did I miss anything on that, Patrick?
No, you did not.
And then the second page is the budget and law, the profit and loss budget versus actuals. It gives much of the same information. This is just how our accountant actually pulls it together. And like I said, we have at this point, I guess what's not reflected in this is that during Q1, we received approval for the additional funds that we asked for as of this year's budget. So we did get that, and we didn't actually get that portion of the funds until Q2. So you'll see that additional funds reflected in Q2. We did some fun accounting, moving stuff from our savings account into our checking and then back into our savings just to cover us for a short period. But other than that, we're in a good spot. Yeah. Spending for this agency should be very consistent over time. So I'm not expecting anything unusual. Patrick, anything I missed on that?
Nope. Good job.
Thank you. That's it. Any questions? Oh, we paid our payroll taxes. So those of you who attended board roles and responsibilities, paid payroll taxes, we are up to date, and our accountant is going on post-tax vacation as he does every year. So we send him with his vest and make sure everything comes through. And welcoming Sarah from Smart.
Were there any other questions on the director's report, financial reports? No. Okay, we will move on to bylaw committee, which is me. We had our first bylaw committee 2 weeks ago. The minutes are up. I'm just going to quickly go through highlights from the minutes. We discussed the purpose of the bylaws committee, an approximate time scale. So we're hoping to have at least a draft available in the fall. Did a quick review of the purposes of bylaws, how they differ from policies and procedures, and then started actually reviewing our existing bylaws, identifying some smaller and bigger issues across them, and then started doing some sort of basically a first pass of issues we see with them, so potential problems. So one interesting thing is how our bylaws tie into the community council, individual community council bylaws is, I think 16 is what I remember.
Yeah.
16 community council bylaws don't mention delegates at all. So, and we don't really say how delegates should be selected. So there's kind of this silence between the two. So one of the things we might do is have a suggestion that unless it's changed by the community council, we would have a full render. So there are things like this we start to get into. Then we also looked at some, let's say, kind of best practice bylaws, 2 different models that came from Foreign, one for membership organizations and one for non-membership organizations, and then had a bit of discussion about what membership and non-membership means in the context of our organization. That's probably the majority of what we discussed. We went into a little bit of detail, but really the purpose of that meeting was to set a general set of expectations, do a quick overview, and then we'll dive into the details of our next meeting, which is this month. Next month.
next month. It's
It's
the
early next month.
the first Tuesday, and it's not the first Tuesday, it's the second Tuesday. We are not when the assembly meets,
That's
so it's the moving around the assembly. And if you're interested in being part of the bylaw committee, just let me know, and I'm happy to share the invite with you. Anybody can participate. And we did also invite municipal ombudsman Daryl Hess to participate because of his longstanding support of both community councils and the federation, his longstanding knowledge, and he's really been honestly in my corner from the beginning, and I think has this organization's best interest at heart. So, and able to kind of help us add some history that if we're missing any and making sure we're making good choices.
And again, to reiterate for anyone who hasn't been following this discussion, this is the bylaws for the FCC, so this organisation, not for the individual councils. It's a message that's taken me a long while to fully understand. So we'll reiterate that. If there's any other comments or any comment from anyone else on the bylaw committee, you can take those. Does that mean hybrid? It was actually offline.
It's only online, yeah, we're not meeting in person at all, just one venue is easiest, so we're not having to collaborate back and forth, and hybrid allows all people to participate. And I want to recognize Emily who joined. Emily, you're with Airport Heights, correct? I surprised her.
Sorry, just trying to find my microphone button. Yes, I'm with Airport Heights, and I think I'm our new delegate to FCC. So happy to be here. Thanks.
Welcome. We have 2 new delegates.
The initiation ceremony is later.
Yes.
Okay, so if there are no questions on the bylaw committee, then we will move on to what we're all here for, which is education topic on the website.
Yeah, we're all here for that.
All right.
So I am gonna start by saying, patience is so appreciated as we work through this together. Our website is live. We're so excited. I can't say how excited I can't begin to explain how excited I am. This was the #2 priority given to me as I talked with people when I started at this organization. And even though there are some bumps on the road, it is so excited to see something happen, something that is accessible, something that has functionality, something that isn't too different from what already exists, but has enough space for us to continue to grow. Fun fact, this website is actually 38 websites shoved into one website. So if you're like, why are there so many bumps in this road? It's that. So just to look at the webpage, some of you may have walked through this. I was just going to quickly talk about some of the functionality that you might see. We've got these cool sections. So this will take you to the map. This will take you now to, we have a meetings calendar that I keep via Google Calendar, so you can see all the community council meetings in a given month in one spot, and also go and click on it and take you directly to their Zoom. So this was something a lot of people outside of councils, people who are visiting meetings, asked for, right? Somebody who's like, hey, I'm DOT and I want to outreach to as many councils as possible. This is going to make them connecting with you guys a lot easier.
Can I ask?
Yeah.
Just for clarification, so you said if you click on, say, turn it into the council, it
Yeah.
would have our Zoom link, the meeting, is that what you said?
Yeah. We're still like inputting all the information.
Oh, okay.
Like, we're just there,
And
but
if,
like,
and if you're meeting in person?
Yep.
What would it would say?
it would say both. So it says your council name, and then if you're in person, Zoom or hybrid. And then we include both. We're gonna have a link to your webpage, a link. We have the directions, and we have the essentially any of the information that's on your homepage about the meeting information. So that way, if somebody was looking through, they could really quickly find that stuff.
Great.
Yeah. And then, so we have sectioned out the federation from the community councils. So when you hover over community councils, you will only see community councils here now, which is great. You won't see other organizations. We're separate now. We're a little page over here, which is going to look very similar, but now we can add in maps, which I personally love, gives us a little like space and makes that location really stick out. And then we have these links now, so you'll still have the ID, but now people can hit this button to join the meeting. We've got a search function, which is so great because I can look up Fairview minutes, January 2018, if I spelled correctly. And in theory, it should come up, but of course it doesn't, right? That would be easy. Oh, yeah.
I was the secretary down.
You say an acronym. I know. Let's see. No, oh, that's right. Maybe you guys don't, it could be that you don't have any for January 2018 for whatever reason. Sometimes it's hard to tell, but anyways, search function, so you can search different information. And then, each of the councils now will go to Avid Loop. You'll see these slider bars. So if you, as you collect photos, we can add or change the photos up here. You've got all of the same relevant information on your homepage that you would like. Something for those of you who struggle with getting spam is that this is now, while you can see it, you can click on it at the very bottom in the left-hand corner. It says JavaScript, and that means that the bots can't scrape the metadata from it. So they won't be able to go through the website and just be like, oh yeah, all of the emails for all the councils. And so that is a little security setting that we've added. It doesn't change any of the functionality for users. It just changes it for bots. And another thing we've added to every community council is a public notice section. And so when the Federation receives public notices on behalf of your community council, they will now go here. And if you have somebody, I can think of a number of people who are very passionate about every public notice that you receive as part of your community council. They'll be able to input their email address and receive a little notice that every time we update the page for that community council. It does not sign them up for the agenda. It is not connected to your agenda, so it won't go out to everybody. This is for those really passionate members who want to get every single public notice that you've ever received. What we'll do is say, hello, the public notice page for Abbott Loop has been updated. Click here to see the document. Very simple. They can add themselves, they can subscribe, they can unsubscribe. You can do it for whatever councils you want. We also have one under our partner orgs. So if we get ones for citywide public notices, you can also sign up for that here under the partner orgs. And then general community notices that are not official public notices that we get will go under community notices. And that's just like a place for us to store all of the fun documents that we get. And then there's a lot of other stuff on here. So yeah, that's kind of my spiel. Any questions? I can see a question.
Well, until I would try and use it myself.
Yeah.
Now I might have questions.
Yeah, absolutely.
This
Yes.
is probably not the
Of course.
time, but.
So
in detail.
You said there might be some teething problems. Is there anything that we know now that doesn't work properly?
Right now, what we're having an issue with is that while we were told by our vendor that all the documents were moved over, they were mostly moved over, but there's some broken links. We still have all the documents, but sometimes the clickableness of them isn't working. So we are working through going through and finding them. If you find one and you're like, hey, I can't click this or it doesn't work, please just send us the information, like the link or the page or the information you're trying to access, and we'll fix it. We definitely have all the documents. The old website is archived, nothing is lost. But it is impossible for us to sort by like broken link documents across 37 web pages. So we just have to kind of work through it slowly. I would say that's the biggest thing. The other thing I would say is that if we've included links and information previously, like old emails from before today, those links won't work anymore because it's a whole new website. And so all of the content links have been shifted over. Now, they're a lot more functional. You'll see at the top here, it says communitycouncils.org/community-notices. You'll be able to look up your community council if they're by name. So if there's a space in the name, you would just add a dash. So it would be communitycouncils.org/Fairview, communitycouncils.org/Campbell-Park, if that makes sense. So /turn again, /south-addition, /Bernard, so all of those make it a lot easier to like quickly link stuff. So you can be like, oh, visit communitycouncils.org/council name. Simple. We did also let the municipal GIS people know so that they're gonna fix the maps if it links for community councils so that all of those links are fixed. Got it.
Michael, you have a question?
Everyone there.
I'll ask Michael first.
On the website, did I miss something or are we able to download stuff on our own?
Upload stuff to the website.
Correct.
Yes, you are able to do that. If you wanna shoot us an email, we do have resources to show you how to do that, and we also are happy to walk you through it. Michael, if you can just like shoot us an email and I can get you all set up.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. We did a couple of trainings previously. We're gonna have another one in the next couple of weeks. So they'll be ongoing, and then what we found honestly is most people have busy schedules. If you just want to connect with us when you're free, it's probably the best, and we can walk you through and work through it. Even if you don't want to handle editing your website, we really suggest you connect with us so we can go through. What I've done with councils who have reached out to me is just walk through every page, make sure the information's accurate, removed any inaccurate information, and talked about things that you might want to add to your website. Things like frequently asked questions, or connecting to a more recent project you might be working on, or connecting to a part of the government that you guys are connecting with more frequently. So taking a little bit of time, like 30 minutes to kind of walk through that with us is super helpful. We're happy to do the work if you don't want to, but we're not going to take anything down because I don't know if you still need it or not. So Evan had a question too, and then I think Paul did.
Yeah, my question was Michael's question.
Oh, great. I have 2 chat questions. Let me see. I don't know what the chat. I think chat.
If the people,
Yeah, we pull it up.
if the people who put the questions in chat want to say it loud now, that's fine.
From the map on the council's breakdown page, the Federation URL link takes you to a 404 page not found. And will community council's email sign up send you property development notices as well as?
So the public notice pages, we only upload the official public notices that we get from the municipality or the state. So for residents who are familiar, that would really include things around land use and things around special use permits. Sometimes we get them in the mail, and sometimes we get them in email, and sometimes we get them both. Planning and zoning, plating boards. There's, I think, one more board that does notices, alcohol and marijuana licenses notice, and then there's a series of other land use notices. So those are the things, if we get it, that gets uploaded to that document. And those pages will only keep the last year of information. We have the record, but per our retention policy, the purpose of that is just to keep the most recent documents relevant for people. If you want to like pull information off, we can move it to other spots if there's like something specific. But the idea is that a resident could go in and see like right now what's active and what they may want to comment on. Says yes, thank you.
So I've got a question. Can you go to where it shows the council maps? Like, I assume it's the homepage.
Yeah, one second. There, this guy.
So so they're just colored. There's no street.
We don't run this map. This is a municipal map. So
That would be really helpful if streets
There are.
actually.
there are.
It's a lot of people. Once you.
So like if I,
Yeah, you can.
if I type in 1057.
But because it's sharing that text as part of the screen, you know, if you got a laptop versus a big, you know, desktop, how big, you know, I mean, is that?
Okay, so you can.
Yeah. Is that?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
You can get to the actual.
You can also go,
To read. Well, no, so you have to click on.
we also have it here, and this takes you to the full, if this is what you're looking for.
Right.
Gabby, this takes you to
I'm
the
sorry.
full size map.
What did, I was not.
On
I
our,
apologize.
on our, under about community councils, we have a multi-section, so we have get involved, find your council, meetings calendar, council contacts, and then history, and find your council takes you to a larger version of the map, if that's what you're looking for. And then it's on the Muni website as well.
So that's community generated.
Correct. We don't run this. It existed on our old website. We didn't run it at that point either. It's always been a Muni.
It could be improved, but you know, that's not on me.
I will say GIS is a difficult app to work with, and there's only so much that they can do. Yeah.
Have another chat.
So yeah,
As will the original sign up.
for CCs, also send you planning notices. We are keeping those separate because the idea is that when people sign up for agendas, they may not be willing to get every single public notice that might not be of interest to them. So at this point, we're keeping those two signups separate. We're making the public notices super accessible and pinging them for people who are interested. Of course, councils are always, when they receive a public notice, we're more than happy to share them if they, you know, I will say just today, we got downtown community council received a notice. They forwarded it to us and we sent it out to their residents via email. So we're happy to like do more pushing, but generally we're keeping these set up. So the sign up will take you to sign up for just the agendas. It's the same exact link as previously, where you put in your information, you select which community councils you want to participate with, you say you're not a robot, and then you sign up.
And all that was carried over,
This is the exact same form from the old
but
website.
I mean, as far as people that have already signed up for.
Oh yeah, the system that runs our emails is separate.
Okay.
Yeah, so all we did was add the link in for the separate website. Yeah.
Pamela asks if you can show the listing of community councils.
Like this.
Okay,
Sorry,
where
no.
is that?
At the top, you just hover over community councils. Just like the old, did the same exact thing.
And then you can,
And then you can click on whoever you want.
and so how big, I mean, can you make that bigger once you click on that?
It brings you to the page.
No, I mean the list where it has.
Oh, the best place if you wanted like a bigger list is actually just to go to the home page and scroll to the bottom and it
Oh,
has.
that wasn't the.
No, that is just the menu bar at the top. Our old one did this exact same format where you hovered over it and then it had the list.
On that, I was always on.
Yeah, and you can just scroll to the bottom, just like the old page where at the bottom it said the list of councils, that's exactly the same.
So that was one of the things I was thinking needed to be improved. If you go to the FCC homepage, you have to scroll all the way down to the bottom to see community councils and the names like that. So is there?
I mean, you just have to hover over the top where it
So
says.
that's a good feature.
Yeah.
So if you don't realize you have to go all the way down.
Yeah.
Just to see them.
Yeah. I think the only one you actually have to like click into is partner organizations.
Okay.
And that is because there's a lot of information going on there. But yeah, okay, well, that's my spiel. If we don't have any more questions, please reach out. We're happy that this does not have to be the end of the conversation. Please just let us know what questions you have, reach out, connect with us, assign somebody to be the point person. Just send a bunch of feedback, however it works. Just please know at this point, because we're trying to make sure that functionality remains, that we're continuing to send out notices as you guys request, that everything is happening. We are very slowly editing the website as we get requests. But we're trying to first make sure all of the same like day-to-day function stays the same, so that's the priority, and then we will do like page edits. So going as fast as we can.
Good job.
Thank you.
What, effective immediately, we can stop getting the planning notices?
You will, you are the chair, so you will still get them directly. Yeah, sorry.
Well, it's actually really fabulous though that they are all effective in one place, so at least that way I can set up my schedule to be like, oh, right. Every other week I go check on planning things.
Yeah.
And I don't have to figure out it.
What I found is that most councils, we were sending them or they were receiving from the planning department copies, and then they weren't getting distributed. And so to kind of just make everyone's life easier, we were like, we'll just distribute these. They'll go on the website. You don't have to worry about it. So just like getting an agenda or minutes, we just do it for you. Anyways, I'm really excited. This is like a year-long project. And we've done so much in a year. Actually, this is my 1 year, like my 12 months of being at a board meeting. So just want to say thanks for all the support. It's been a
And you're still with us.
I think there was another question in the chat.
I tried signing up for the public notices and you are confirming you're not saying there's error. Too. Okay, thanks, Paul. We will look at that and circle back with you. Copy on the notes.
There's a couple of things I'd like to point about the website. One is, I think it's a really good mixture of looking familiar enough, but having new functionality, better functionalities. You could see a way where it just became totally alien, but I could still find my way around it. And the second thing was the really big change behind the scenes. What we had before was a custom thing that was, any small changes often had to go back through the vendor, and it was just a very ugly mess. This is a kind of standard platform for standard content management, so we can expand this in all sorts of ways.
I will say we're also doing search engine optimization. We're able to track like data for people accessing the website now. And also Google has a grants program that our old website didn't qualify for. And our new website probably will qualify for it, and that will allow me to run free Google ads via this nonprofit program to kind of try and drive traffic to our website, but our old website didn't qualify. So now I'm hoping increased functionality means I can take advantage of some of the technological aspects, and we can start to have better things. Oh, I didn't show you guys, but one of if you could, don't mind bearing with me for like one more second, because I was really excited about this part in particular. Oh, where'd my Zoom go? There it is. Okay. So we broke out our education resources now for everyone. So it's now the council board resources. There's like, if you want to know all the things that the FCC can do for your community council, I made a list. As well as like all of our other resources, but something that I'm like so excited about is that I can just link videos directly into the website. So now you can just watch the local lens from the website, right? So if I send somebody a link .org/local-lens, cool, look at, you can see all of them. I don't have to tell you to go to YouTube. You can just watch them all right here and like click the slides, and like that's just makes everything so much more accessible for people to not have to like go to 8 different things. They can just look at here. We can also add in your social medias for your community councils of like sign up for Facebook here with like the little social media icon and stuff. So like, again, reach out. I'm happy to show you all the cool things. Anyways. I love dropping in there.
When you mention ads, you don't mean that there will be ads running on our website.
No.
You mean that it will pull it.
I will be able to run ads on Google to advertise community councils.
In the Google search.
What are community councils? They're your way to get involved in local government.
So if someone searches, well, what's a community council?
Right.
then potentially we have the clue.
Right, and hopefully I can drive traffic away from the people who have satellite problems on their rooftops or like have a cable issue. That's not us.
I wanna comment, my 2 favorite things about the website is that calendar where you can see everyone's community council, and it'll be very beneficial for people who want to visit other community councils and see it over over calendar. It's easier to schedule that way. And the second thing was that email fix for against the bots. I'm so excited. I'm so happy no more bots.
I will also say, if you ever wonder why I can't schedule a meeting for you on any given Wednesday or Thursday, I would advise go look at that calendar and see how many councils meet on any given day. And if your council is considering maybe moving their meeting date, consulting that calendar would give you a good idea of the open dates. So, anyways, no more Thursdays. Please, not on a Thursday. The student can't take the.
We don't have owls.
Hey.
So if we have, phone number changes, just give them to you.
Please, yep, all the same for contact information, please send,
Bring up the contact information to check all of those.
yeah. Send us that stuff still, because we'll update it on the webpage, we'll update it on the contact list, we'll update it internally, like there's a bunch of places we have to update that stuff, so if you have officer changes or contact information changes, please let us know. I still have like a goal of getting us all emails that are, abbotloop@communitycouncils.org for every community council. That is a goal of mine, and I think would be really amazing for that kind of access and functionality, and not having to remember the Gmail password for the umpteenth time, and oh my god, who has all of that kind of stuff. But again, new tech, new day.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, we will move on. Any other questions? Do I on the website?
Yeah, email me, I'll connect with you.
We'll move on to the next topic, which is, it's that time of year, we do nominations for the executive committee and officers. Our elections will be next month. This is a pre-nomination process, so we can, people can be nominated this meeting or at next meeting, and then we'll go through the voting next week.
And as a reminder, they don't take office till July, but because we don't meet in July, the first meeting with the new officers is technically August.
Unless something comes up.
You know, somebody's gonna quit between, May and
You never know. You never know. Depends on that summers. Okay, so I will open up nominations. If anyone would like to nominate anyone for the executive committee positions, which are chair, vice chair, secretary and treasurer.
Point of order. Can a delegate nominate themselves?
Yes.
I'll say Evan Leaf, Ben Lake to vice chair. That's all.
We would need a second.
We do.
Someone want a second? Second.
So she's interested.
We have I would be interested from. Do you have a specific position in mind, Caitlin?
No, not really.
So I'm going to, although normally I'm the chair, you want to be officially chair for the next 20 seconds.
That's all right.
So I will nominate Patrick for treasurer.
Can we get a second for the nomination for Patrick?
Second.
Cheers.
Well. After you.
I nominate Mike Eddington for chair.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Okay.
And there was Caitlin that was looking to volunteer.
Yes. Okay, did Caitlin mention his position?
No, she's in for whatever.
Okay,
Cause we might have a vacating secretary then.
yeah, that's what it sounds like.
We have Jason Norris from Huffman O'Malley nominating Caitlin for secretary. So that would be a nomination. Oh wait, can I get a second for Caitlin?
Kevin on the second.
Kevin is seconding. And then to reiterate, we have a nomination for Mike Edgington for chair, Evan Leaf for vice chair, Caitlin Jackson for secretary, and Patrick LeMay for treasurer.
Thank you. So anyone else can nominate again either now or at the next meeting, and the next meeting is where we will actually have the election itself. Oh, yes, that was the other thing. We could potentially also consider an at-large position if there was any more interest. So that's the other thing.
The purpose being that our executive board is 4 people, which is an even number. So if we had a 5th at-large person, makes.
More to the point, I think with 4 people, you still need 3 for a quorum. With 5 people, you need 3 for a quorum. So it doesn't actually change the quorum, you're just more likely to get a quorum.
So if anyone's interested, nothing the executive board does isn't approved by the full board, so it's really just. You wanna come and hang out with me more.
Really interested in that large, unless somebody is like, we do not have Thomas. Not nominating. No, something else was gonna come out of my mouth.
Could there be more than one at large, or the 5 being 6 or 7?
I think we.
Potentially.
Invite
We'll see.
whoever wants to participate.
Alright.
Whoever's down to go to one more meeting a month, like it can't be that many people.
Going from 4 to 5 is a significant advantage. Because again, we have the same quorum requirements, but we're more likely to get it, so that helps.
So does the current FCC bylaws allow for an at-large board member?
It doesn't prohibit it, so it's allowed.
So it's not specifically listed.
Right.
Yeah, you can do it as long as it says you can't do it.
Are you self-help?
Yeah.
Did somebody?
So actually, sorry, we had a nomination, I don't think we've actually second.
Yeah, but if you want to go. Yeah, now my hands are down.
We get to
You can ask more questions.
Still not arm wrestling.
Yeah. Think we are not second.
I'm sorry, can't see.
Oh,
I was James, but now Kelly. Like, I was interested, but.
then go for it.
Yeah.
Right. Then I would just need a second.
I second.
Thank you. Okay, excellent.
And we can keep talking about it. We're not voting.
Yep.
Sure.
Any other nomination, again, you to mention it now, or sometime between now and next meeting?
And I'll just restate Mike for chair, Evan for vice chair, Caitlin for secretary, Patrick for treasurer, and Sarah for at-large.
Very currently set. But again, we have the opportunity next week for any other nominations and.
We can be competitive. It might be.
We should.
That voting competitive.
Maybe not arm wrestling. We'll probably do a vote for other arm wrestling.
Historically, there have been major problems even getting nominations for all of the offices.
Correct.
This is.
And now we get,
It's
now we're getting
been
extra.
interesting on these meetings.
Hey, so we will now go on to, was there anything else? No. We will now go on to item 6, discussion topic. So I'll briefly introduce this. We had I guess a complaint during the last month about some information that went out, and this is covered by our digital outreach policy. So what we wanted to do,
Which is in the board package.
which is in the board package again. So what we wanted to do is just sort of explain what happened, show a little bit about the outreach policy as we've had it, and then if we as the body want to discuss this any further, or we want to make changes to the digital outreach policy, this is a good opportunity to start that discussion. So.
Yes, my turn.
Yeah.
Okay. Because of the recent historical record of this organization, as staff, I take claims of partisanship very seriously. And so we had a formal complaint that an action I had taken as staff was partisan, so I bring it to the board and am looking for whatever guidance you can provide when it comes to whether I was following the digital outreach policy or if I had strayed. And that way, if I have strayed, I can get some insight into how to work better. And so some of you, if you are a chair, may have received via us the survey from Representative Galvin about the federal firings. And so what happened is that Representative Galvin's office reached out to us and said, hi, I want this to go to all community councils. And so per the outreach policy, I looked to see if this was something that could go in our newsletter. And I felt that it was maybe a little too partisan for us to put in the newsletter, that maybe we'd get a little pushback and it wasn't worth the fight. And so I did not put it in the newsletter, and instead I followed policy and we sent it out to all community council presidents and said, would you like us to send this to your councils? We had a few people say yes, but we had one council in particular strongly say that us even sharing that survey was a partisan act, and that we should have never shared that survey, and that we should never have sent it out on behalf of councils. My consideration is that I don't tell councils what to do. I share the information as directed, and then if requested, we send it out as directed. I follow if I am unsure, I leave it to the councils, and that it is not my choice to be made. And I would never tell council chairs what they can and can't share with their councils. So that is the actions I took. That is what was shared with us. I can pull up the complaints more officially if anybody has questions. I didn't want to particularly out any group or the people surrounding it, just more bring it to the table and let you guys tell me what the next steps are.
Just
So could I
sorry, can I just make one statement? We did have Ari and I did have discussion about this before it got set up, because we were aware that
As soon as it happened, yeah. The chair.
Sorry, please go ahead, Colin.
Yes, so I'm going to say something that I really can't even believe I'm saying, because it's not something I like a lot. I would like you to put this to a subcommittee to look at what that policy is and what those outlines are before we just take this all out of context. I hate committees. I hate blue ribbon committees especially. But I think this is something that if you don't give it some thought about from all angles, then making any kind of this is not an issue or this is an issue would only entrap us more. So I think setting it aside to a couple of people to look at it, to look at the complaint and to try to garner what the intent of the complaint was, I think would be helpful, because I agree wholeheartedly that councils get to make their own decisions, but you are a filter of information to us, and it's no different. And so again, I know I'm on record, sorry, but it's like when you send from representatives and they want to be first on the list to go out for everything, but maybe we don't want that to go out from the whole group. Maybe we want other things to go with it. I mean, when you send me that kind of stuff, I send you 4 other things that we'd like to have go out. Your representative should have some information, but those are all details that have to do with the demographics and the environment that each one of those councils live in. But what you're talking about here is an overall for the FCC. So I really think it takes more thought and a better look at it before just moving on.
Yeah. You want to chair that committee?
Oh, you are so funny. My favorite thing to not do. Did you not hear me? Not do. I don't mind participating in it, because I think it really takes a checkoff list, and to look at it from because it's really important that we are not partisan. But you have so many perpetually offended people. I can't stand it. So yes, I will help with it.
Yeah, it could be
Okay.
a one-time committee.
Yeah,
It
we
could
can
be
do
an
it
ad hoc.
that whole
Yeah.
committee.
Doesn't have to. There is a question on the chat. Does the FCC have an ethics committee like the legislature does? This is a good thing to have a policy on.
We do not have an ethics committee. We do have, we have a policy on digital outreach, which is the thing in the packet. And reading the question. There's a couple of questions under here. One of them is which I think I agree, actually, Pamela, I think this is a good thing to take to an ad hoc subcommittee to discuss further. But in context, one of the questions is, did we follow the policy as written? The other thing is the policy actually correct?
Yeah,
Or does
totally.
this point
And you
out
did.
weakness? Yeah.
You did. So it's just a matter of looking, because we do have a policy, but maybe
Yep.
it's not clear enough for them, or they haven't read it, or I'm not sure, but it's
Or the-
still a matter
or
of
the
looking at
cases
this
sometimes.
specific complaint.
I will also say our grant clearly says what we, our opinion. However, we don't have formal adopted documentation around nonpartisan, outside of just kind of general. It might be in the bylaws where it says we're nonpartisan, but we don't have any formal policy around political communications. And so maybe that's something that comes out of this, is that we need to just, maybe we just literally take the grant document and say, like, this is affirmed our policy on this, but whatever it is, maybe it's an active choice to reaffirm.
That very
Yeah.
topic also came up in the bylaw subcommittee about how we detail the non-partisanship. Question for Patrick. And then, sorry. I keep going.
Thank you. You know, I don't typically have opinions, but I see a dividing line here. That whole question and that whole survey was federally based, and our sole purpose is local issues, and so I don't not even whether it's in a policy or not. It's just um, weighing in on the federal level may not be needed at this point.
Yeah, I would stand by that. It's not the role of the Federation, in my understanding, to tell councils what and when we should share stuff. And so I think for me, that's the biggest question is, if we're gonna say when we can share stuff with councils, I would like very clear instruction about that so that I don't make a mistake. Because right now, we're just kind of an open filter in that, like, if somebody sends something to me to go to community councils, it goes to the council presidents and I let them decide what they want to go out. And so if we're gonna say that staff need to now filter that, I really wanna be super clear about what I'm filtering then, and when something, because it came from a state representative who was weighing in on federal policy. And so does that mean do we step back from state? There's like a lot of questions I have on that, right? Because I would hate to restrict something that you guys did want to go out, and then I'm like, oh, shoot.
I have a question about the content of what the representative wanted to disseminate. It was a survey, you said?
Yeah, it was a survey about people being affected by the federal layoffs and grant homes.
I see. I'd like to comment briefly and say that the FCC is not supposed to take any political stance. It's clearly said in the newsletter. Political messaging cannot endorse a candidate, policy, or other political stance. I do not believe, though, that sending out the survey to the presidents gave a stance at all, but was merely providing an opportunity, how I see it, and as well as in 21.1, it's specifically talking about the newsletter, but in the context, it says that it is to provide the public with opportunities that promote civic engagement in community council business. For the civic engagement part, the survey is a participation into civic engagement that the representative thought that they wanted to disseminate to the communities of Anchorage. It might have been questionable if it was effective, but I do not believe that it was a breach of nonpartisanship to merely ask the FCC to put this on, and I believe that it was the smart move not to put it on the newsletter, but to consult with the community councils and let them make their own choice.
Yeah.
That's my stance.
So some of mine might be more questions. There are probably chairs in this room who requested that it be sent out, and so I'm wondering if we're gonna have an ad hoc committee, should it be made up of a mix of people who have seen it who sent it out, didn't send it out, who haven't seen it, or should it only be people who haven't even seen the survey and thus have not formed an opinion of what this even means?
I will also say I had a couple of councils reach out and send the survey to us to go out as well. So while this came through Rep Galvin's office, other people got it through other means and maybe didn't see our email and included it separately and wanted it to go out. So in that case, what do I do, right? Like if I filter it and then they send it to me and they say they want it to go out, like, do I have to filter it back?
In terms of process, I think
It's just a, it's a
Can
procedural
you just
document
wait-
to look at. If you have a
wait
policy,
a
it's
minute,
just a
Pamela, please?
procedural.
Can you just hang on for a second, Paul? Yeah, I was gonna say, in terms of process, what we would do is have a subcommittee, an ad hoc subcommittee, which people can volunteer for, we can necessarily appoint. Any recommendations coming out of that come back to the whole board, so no decisions are made there, it'd be a set of recommendations, possibly, which could include no action. Sorry, Pamela, if you want to just make a comment on that,
No,
then I'll go to Joseph. Okay.
So,
thank you.
and we do
sorry,
have a
just
comment.
talking over you, Michael. I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. It just, I think what we're looking at is just procedural. You have a policy now. They might come back with some suggestions on your policy, but and while you're working on bylaws, it's kind of a good timely thing. I don't think of it as a negative, actually.
I see Jason's hand up, call Jason next, and then,
We had a comment in the chat, having the FCC staff acting as a filter seems like it would be inherently partisan.
right, there's that risk, because no, stopping things from going through is also.
Right. I would rather not make a choice. I would rather just.
Jason, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. So first, I'll be unequivocal. I don't think you did anything wrong. I think you handled it perfectly. Didn't put it in the newsletter. Let the presidents make their call. Second, I don't see how this could be inherently partisan in any way, because I'd like to point out that Rep Galvin is unaffiliated, is not representing any party in her capacity as an elected official. But if we feel that that a committee is the best path forward for this, I don't oppose it. I can't be on it. I don't oppose it. So those are my thoughts. Thank you.
I think as far as the filter, maybe the angle I take on it is not necessarily in this case trying to determine partisanship one way or the other. I'm a little bit more concerned about taking a municipal granted entity and dispersing something on a federal level, or even being kind of a disseminator for the state. We didn't get a state grant and we didn't get a federal grant. So I think removing that then takes you out of the having to play filter. See, the problem that I have with it is not what you might filter, but the fact that you're being placed in a position to try and filter. And in some ways, whether you admit it or not, you were a filter by passing it on. Because now some chairs may just, oh, well, I guess I'm supposed to do this and send it. I don't know how the scrutiny is on 36 other chairs, right? I'm concerned about that. It's not really muni business. I have a concern about that.
I will say, we share all sorts of statewide things, DOT things, we share representative town halls, like, there's lots of comments. And I will say, I have attended a number of community councils who actually focus quite a bit on state things, who are quite in contact with their state representatives and handling CAPSIS. And while some spend a lot more time at the assembly level, some spend a lot of time at the state level. So I also forgot to mention, because it at the very bottom of every email that comes from our office, it says, this is not the, what does it say?
This communication is not represented by the Federation of Community Councils. It has been sent out by request of Scenic Foothills Community Council.
Right.
This was sent at the request of Scenic Foothills Community Council, therefore it represents Scenic Foothills Community Council's opinions, not Federation.
Right, so it explicitly tells everybody that we're sending this out on behalf of X, Y, and Z community council, and if it's multiple community councils, we'll say this was sent on behalf of your community council, though I think we're fixing that a little bit to be more specific so that we avoid any future confusion. And that was my original suggestion to the complaint, is that they should go to the council in which they received the survey from and tell that council president that they did not like receiving that survey, because it's a that's the communication. We're just the staff, but
So, before we go further, you've just hit 7 o'clock, which is normally the time where we want to move on. I think this discussion is still productive, so we can give it a couple more minutes. If there's anybody who hasn't, who's got a comment, who hasn't spoken so far, let's start with.
It's very quickly, I think already covered what I was going to say, like, for example, turning into the council deals with airport stuff all the time, state. So, yeah, you don't wanna limit it just to muni stuff, because, yeah, whatever it's capsules or any DOT project.
yeah, lots of state stuff.
And there are issues which are hard. Education is both.
And
Yeah.
some councils apply for federal grants too, so like, or work with a national organization, so I would, yeah.
Are there any other comments that I want to bring back to the issue of committee? So you have a hand up.
Yes, I think my thing is more checking on our grant to make sure it doesn't hamstring us from those things. Because
We do have a comment from John Riley. Why is collecting data on the effects of external political decisions on community councils partisan? Did the survey tell people how to answer the questions? I struggle with the concept of nonpartisanness in today's climate, when our job is to encourage people to vote and participate, and that is not the view of every organization. It did not tell people how to answer the question. I would say, what does nonpartisan mean to this organization is a question that the committee could definitely answer for me. I would love some guidance.
Okay, so I think what I would do is entertain a motion that we create an ad hoc committee to just delve into this a little bit more deeply and report back at the next meeting. So anyone like to make that? But okay, thank you.
I second.
Second. Okay, mechanics of membership.
Pamela said she would share it.
Okay.
Do we have any nomination or people?
I think this is a voluntary.
Voluntary.
Anybody wants.
Charlie, I just so I can connect, we need 3. I would prefer in this committee not to be on it. I can staff it, I can get you guys going, and then I will like lead you to it and answer questions, but I probably won't actually attend the meeting once you're started, because I think it includes staff's movements, and I want to make sure that you guys are able to make that. Is there anyone else willing to, Evan? Anyone else willing to jump on?
Sure.
Okay, and if you are interested, you can always throw it in the chat or email. I will connect with all of you guys, find a time that works, and then if virtually works for everybody logistically, that's probably the best, because then you guys can jump on from the comfort of your own homes, and we'll get something together.
And when that is scheduled, you should send a note around to all the delegates, but everyone is aware if they want to.
Absolutely, send note.
Okay. We look forward to response next month. We did have the last discussion topic of strategic plan first. Look.
Yeah, I
we
can
do
be
that
quick.
briefly.
Yeah.
Speak on.
I look so fast. I've done a lot of talking. And I was at the board training yesterday, so I'm tired. Oh, wait. Where is it? I sometimes hate PowerPoint. My apologies. Okay. Strategic plan update. So for those of you who participated in our strategic plan, we wanted to check in. As a reminder, how did we get here? We started with board roles and responsibilities in September and November. That says 2025. It was 2024. So you may have attended those meetings last year. I'm sorry, I must have made this in a hurry. And then this year in March, the day 1 of the summit was the strategic planning. We had 9 delegates and 3 community members. We reviewed the history of the FCC and some of the few documents I was able to rustle up about previous plans. We worked through core purpose and core values, and we were able to lightly touch on the 3 to 5 year plan along with an annual plan. So where we got in core purpose, and for those of you who don't know what core purpose means, it's what is the business of the FCC. It's focused, it's specific, it's 4 words or less. It's not our mission. It's the essence of our identity. It may be something another organization does, and that's okay. And it's consistent. It's the glue that holds us together. It's going to be the same no matter what kind of programs we're offering. And where we got with that was support and foster neighborhood engagement. So the group that worked on it, we split into two, half worked on core purpose, half worked on core values, and we talked about it as a whole. And core values, so this would be our DNA. It's 1 to 5 words. It answers the question of what drives our organization and what motivates us to move ahead. It's the energy of the FCC. It's not what we want to have. It's what we already have, which was a hard thing. And it clarifies the purpose, what organizational behavior is needed. And so what we got to in there were some like big words we kind of got to, and then there were some other words that also resonated with the group. So those are in parentheses. So we got to collective, integrity, continuity, and empowerment. And then you'll see there's like other small words under there. And then we got to a vision, and this was our community works together through informed discussions, respecting and valuing our differences. And so the next step is that we're going to take those 3 things, the core purpose, the core values, and the vision, and we're going to workshop them a little bit more. We're going to wordsmith them a little bit more, and we're going to do that in the executive committee. But as part of the executive committee, we'll notice the delegates and I think we're going to do the first half of the next meeting, and it's open invitation to anybody to come and wordsmith it with us. Whether you were there or not, if you want to really be part of this, we're welcoming, and we're just come on in and we'll all talk about it. And then the executive committee will get it down to a really good place, and then we will bring it back, and then the board will vote on it as a whole. The strategic plan, where we got with that was that the group identified that we have some structural interests at play there, and that we have now formed the bylaw committee, which is great, and they're going to actually, and they also identified that maybe structurally we had some questions we wanted answered. So the bylaw committee is going to review structurally the organization, and then make their recommendations for bylaw updates, and then come back to the board, and then the board will vote on the bylaw updates. And then what we're gonna do is probably next year go back and spend a little bit more time in the strategic plan. Honestly, we only got like maybe an hour of it because we spent a long time in core purpose and core values. So we want to spend more time in creating the 3 to 5 year plan. And so we might do like mini strategic planning session early next year after we have our bylaws updated and after we've answered some of those structural questions. But getting to a core purpose and a core values, a lot of people think a lot about the mission, but these are essentially the mission, right? They're another way to look at the mission. Lots of organizations have very long missions that mention all of this stuff, and you don't even know what it means. Ours doesn't make grammatical sense. So us having a core purpose and a core value really did make a difference in like helping us get to a strong spot, set up like a better place to be when it comes to the bylaw committee. So whatever gets voted on will also go to the bylaw committee, and then they'll use it in building the new bylaws. So we're all moving in the right direction, and we just want to make sure we're being really thoughtful as we like take steps forward, and that we're bringing stuff back to the body. Questions? Answers? I'm looking at the.
Can we get a copy of that?
Yeah. I'll stick it in the recap.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to read.
Totally. Yeah. It doesn't, you would think it would make it better. I'll make it bigger next time.
Go be bigger.
I'll make all my fonts bigger. It looks big on my screen, and then it doesn't.
I'm getting
Hey, we're gonna move on. So we're now gonna move on to part 2, which is, so now again, we take up our FCC non-profit hat, put on our council hat. So we'll now start our coalition meeting. So welcome everybody to the coalition meeting. We'll start with council updates. So this is basically a quick 1-minute update, and then maybe circle back if we have any Issues.
And for those of you who are new, we do we do a third every time. So in January, I think or February, we started at A's. And so I'll put in the agenda who's talking. If you ever are like, do I have to talk this time? And then if you have anything that's urgent, we make space and be like, does anybody have something they really want to talk about? Everybody gets a minute. Okay. Robert Creighton, do you have an update?
Yes, we've been working on a few items. Number one, we've been providing ongoing comments to Anchorage Assembly about a lot of the zoning changes. Currently, we've are commenting on the proposed tax incentives for increasing housing, establishing details for rezoning, and some movements to preserve solar access for town square in terms of the building heights that are along what of the boundaries of the town square had the height limitations removed. So we were making some comments on that proposal. In addition, RCCC has formed a new committee, an education committee, to monitor and comment on both assembly and some statewide education funding issues. We spent our last meeting coming up with comments to send to the state legislature on the student-based allocation decisions that they're in the process of making or not making. And we are proposing to have this committee be cross-CC if other community councils are interested in education funding issues. You are welcome to contact the chair, RCCC, and let them know of your interest. That's it.
Hey, John, would you send me the contact information for that committee and I will share it in the recap?
Sure.
Or you can just drop it in the chat and I'll drop it there.
All right.
Okay, Rogers Park. No, not here, sorry. Rush and Jack.
The new Zoom is working very well.
Yes.
We have a new facility in our area that took over a pretty seedy hotel. That originally was going to open in May. It's going to be later because there's a lot of structural issues with that hotel that they have to work on. But what it's going to do is it's going to hold 60 to 80 people, and it's going to be helping the whole person. It's going to be a recovery type center, and it's called the Increased Recovery Center. They've come to our last 2 or 3 meetings, and it really invested in the community and in seeing what they can do. I think it'll be a great program going in there. Plus, they're taking care of a garage that has a huge issue with oil at the same time, and I don't know where they're getting their grant for that, but I'm hoping they get a good one. Merrill Field came and went over the runway construction projects that's going to happen this summer. We have a marijuana business that's moving in, and they've gone through that process of getting all the P's and Q's set up for what different standards that they want. Tara and Clayton met with the mayor sometime last month, I think. And then DOT did the same presentation they did here on roadway safety, and it turned out really good. That's it.
Thank you. Sand Lake.
Sand Lake had 2 resolutions passed as of today. The one was, I believe, 2 months ago, and it was to approve the boundary change, the 10-year community council boundary change. And another was a resolution sent to the assembly asking for traffic calming on Blackberry Street, south of Jewel Lake Street. And as well as there was presentation done by the airport at this last meeting about construction to be done over the summer at Ted Stevens. And the Sand Lake Community Council has created a subcommittee to for the CIP projects, and they are hoping to have them submitted before May 20th. That's all.
Great. Scenic Foothills.
Yes, good evening. We're currently getting ready to kick off our Baxter Trails grant for the second year to put some more gravel down on the trail areas. And we're working on clearing invasive species, dialoguing with the Muni on some drainage issues, and there is overgrowth in the bog that's creating some flooding issues. So we're working those. Currently working on the CIP list. Our biggest item that we're going to be adding is that bridge over Muldoon at 36. Snow removal equipment that doesn't have the capacity to carry snow removal equipment. The biggest issue there is that's a Muni-owned bridge on DOT right-of-way. So don't know if the Muni is willing to take it on, and DOT won't take it on. The bridge does need to get replaced. It's an old glulam beam type bridge. That's all I have.
Okay, so thank you. South Edition.
In South Edition, we've had a couple meetings on the capital improvement projects. And the mechanics of how that works was explained really well by Chelsea Ward. And but the committee that we have and our community members are very frustrated by this whole process, because there's big variances between what the community council submits and then what is produced by the municipality, and trying to reconcile those two is very, very difficult. And we don't really understand the philosophy that the municipality is using to determine which projects get priority and I think without understanding that, it's very difficult for a community council to feel that any of their efforts are being recognized in this process. And it's been going on for a long time. This is not a current issue, but there'll be projects on the municipality list that appear 3 or 4 times. I mean, there are projects on the municipality list in South Anchorage. I mean, we're about as far away as you can get from South Anchorage. And why are they asking us to, opine on a project, it's so far away? It's very difficult to understand how the municipality approaches this whole process. And we are trying to get a list together that we think is appropriate for our area of town and submit it, but we have no idea how it's going to be received by the municipality.
Thank you. Spinard.
Okay, we went hybrid.
Yay!
We are ironing out some of the awkwardness while also just leaning into it and recognizing that that is a thing while we figure out how to run our meetings hybrid. We also meet in a circle, which is normally great, but when the screen is behind it, integrating a screen into a circle while also trying to lead the meeting and not talk to the screen instead of the owl, that has been the heaviest lift for me. But we're ironing it out. As a group, we sent a letter to the assembly regarding functional classifications of roadways in Spinard. We introduced a joint resolution between Midtown, Spinard, and North Star Community Councils in support of funding to develop a master plan for Cuddy Park. That should be voted on in May. We sent some comments on the draft Midtown District Plan. We're going to vote on our ranked CIP list at our May meeting, which does involve a complicated formula that involves past projects that we voted on, current projects and how they rank, and integrating them together. And I put it at the top of the list that we vote on. So it's transparent. We also, we're gonna host an executive board retreat on April 26th to set up our own strategic goals. And we partnered with North Star Community Council, Beyond the Beige grant opportunity for a mural on, Hillside Drive. Yes, in Spinard and North Star. And we're still working on solutions for a camp that is at Northwood Park and private property that crosses Fish Creek Trail. So it has multiple jurisdictions. It's been an issue in our community for about 4 years. And it's a bit of a whack-a-mole. We have many departments working on it and we haven't come up with a great solution. And we also, several members went to a pedestrian fatality site visit on March 17th. There were an opportunity to visit in three different communities. So some of you might have gotten that invite as well. We went to the one at Northern Lights in Minnesota. And the point of that visit was to go over the facts of the case and like, could we see just as community members, what some of the mitigating factors and issues would be at that site visit. So we really appreciated the opportunity to see like what the different departments were doing regarding that case. And including the community in both solutions and some feedback opportunities. So I am sad that I'm ending on that thing.
Turn again.
Yeah, well, we stayed busy. We did have our West Anchorage Candidates Forum, the evening after our delegate just met on May 20th and partnered with Spinard and Sand Lake and Tapu Campbell. And while we didn't have a huge turnout because there were some other events scheduled the same night, there were a lot more people attending those, but we felt it was a good one. We had all 4 school board nominees participate and 1 person each of the District C and the District. Yeah. Whichever district, Midtown kind of district as well as the West District. And so it was very productive. And I think people got a lot out of it who attended. So at our last meeting, we did pass a resolution regarding the our land use committee requesting a rescheduling with the Fish Creek Trail Connection project team. We had originally scheduled and was usually agreed on that date, and project team canceled our land use committee meeting. Never have gotten a really good explanation of why they did that. And then they did have an open house. I wasn't able to attend, but so now our land use committee wants to reschedule, and we felt like a formal resolution would be a good way to go with that, so they don't. We maybe have some backup if we have any pushback on that, but I don't think we will. We just have to pick a new date for that. And hopefully meet at this location, not at CRW. And then just as other councils, we formed a CIP ranking committee. And so we haven't met yet, but we'll probably be doing that next week. And then vote on it at our May 1st meeting. And as other councils have been doing, providing input, trying to follow the growing amount of AOs coming out of either the planning department or the assembly with regard to Title 21 and all of that. It's hard to keep up on everything, and I think 4 things were postponed from their last assembly meeting, so it's just hard to keep up on that. So any suggestions on how to get a handle and working together with other councils would be good. And then there's multiple projects that are gonna be going on at the airport this summer that will affect traffic, construction, traffic, noise, closure of roads, filling of wetlands. You name it, tons of things are gonna happen, especially, and just FYI for everybody who likes to go out to the west side of the airport and the moving land beyond. That's gonna see some major changes in the next year or 2 with regard to relocating West Point Warren's off Drive as you go around the point, that everything going south, like to the old Clifford Center, that whole road is going to be really relocated to the west. Because cargo development is going to come off of the active airfield now. And so that road, so it's gonna be a huge change for all of us who enjoy, going out to that area past the airport. Thank you.
Yep, Attorney Gennard.
The only thing I have is we'll meet quarterly and our next meeting is the 8th of May. Thank you.
Yay. University area. Bring us home.
Not much new, Tutor area has been attending our, community council, meeting. We are still dealing with the boundary changes, planning a little outreach campaign for the area from Baxter and Ponopus. 42nd Avenue, they're gonna be starting construction, so if you're heading to the university or Providence, you'll probably put it's difficult with traffic, because they're also simultaneously changing a few lights up, traffic lights, so careful where you go, you might get stuck. Other than that, with more board members, May is the last meeting before we adjourn for the summer. We are working on our CIP list, but it's pretty much been the same for the last 10 years. But we're gonna add a new project to it. Our top 10 projects. That's about it. Big thing is 42nd Avenue, our #1 project. Gonna get torn up here real soon.
Thank you. Oh, yeah, is there anybody who has we're overtime, so does anybody have 1 minute quick? So I actually do, so in Fairview Council, the big, huge thing for us is Cars Gamble closing. And that will have an amazingly huge impact on our community. For those poor people that don't have transportation, which is a lot in our community. Or people that have anchor rides or wheelchairs, I mean, you name it, it's a big deal for us, so.
Thank you.
Yep.
We will move on to the presentation of representatives. I see.
We just have Marie.
Yep, I see Marie. Marie from the Mayor's Office, would you like to go ahead?
I do, yes, thank you. So hot off the press today, the special assembly.
You muted yourself, Marie.
Okay, sorry, I got my pad on top of my my keyboard. So yes, so they did pass the bond, 1.1 billion for port construction at Terminal 1. So that's a big milestone, a lot of money. I can post, you can find the copy of the AO and the AM for awarding of the contract, again, which is 1.1 million for construction of Terminal 1. And so that's a big project. Completion would be 2029 is what they are expecting. So that was one big news for today from this afternoon's special meeting. And second, another press release that happened recently was the staff changes in our office. Katie Skovic, the chief of staff, is stepping down, and Suzanne Fleet Green has been named as the new chief of staff, and she will be starting in our office in June. And it may be a familiar name for you all. She's worked with Mayor Begich and also Senator Begich, and also Mayor Berkowitz, and now for Mayor Suzanne LaFrance. So we will have two Suzannes, one with a Z and one with an S. So yeah. And then number 3 that I have would be, since Sarah mentioned arts grants. We did close that. We received 30 applications for the general grants and 12 for the Beyond the Beige, which I think is what Sarah Spinard Community Council applied for. So I can't wait. It'll be an exciting celebration of the arts and color in Anchorage. And for the next visit for the community councils, it is yet to be scheduled, but it will be sometime in May. We've had our recent visits with the mayor was with East High School students, and it was great. It was great to see senior high school students in their government class engage with the mayor. They were in the mayor's office. They also went to the assembly. And so that was very encouraging to see young people here. Some of them not so, probably not so thrilled they like the mayor's office, but it's so great for them to hear how government works. So that's all I have.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Can I just say I wasn't a great fan of the type. I like the color beige, so I wasn't a great fan of the
Yes, we will keep some. We have come to City Hall. We
Well,
have
do
a lot
have
of
lot.
beige.
Do have a lot.
Everything in moderation.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Were there any questions?
Go first, mine's on.
I have one question about the arts grants. Is the application still open or did that close? And if it's open, how long for?
It closed the 14th, Monday.
I see. Thank you though.
You're very
hard
welcome.
to get all the grants submitted. We fiscally sponsored 3 applications.
Oh, nice.
I wonder if we have a date we're gonna hear about the graders that are
I
getting
know,
named.
yes. I asked I asked about that. We've narrowed the list, and what I got was decision is imminent. And more imminent than Mount Spur. So we will get that.
It's a foregone conclusion. It's going to be great. It's going to be great.
You want to now?
Everyone. Great name is exciting. Jason, go ahead.
Yeah, I was wondering, I saw the press release for 10,000 homes in 10 years, and I was wondering if there were any follow-up actions to spur construction of housing that the mayor was looking at in, upcoming days.
I am not aware of any, and tell me more about what your question, Jason.
Yeah, there was a press release about the mayor's plan for 10,000 homes in 10 years. And it's great to have a press release on it, and I'm all for it. I was just wondering if there was any imminent action by the administration to try and get them built.
Oh, imminent action. Yes, there were some the AOs that were moving tax incentives. So there's those, but that were the immediate ones. It's not all going to happen quickly, but the incentives, tax incentives that was mentioned in the press release. So I know our office is working on those.
Yeah, thank you. They took testimony on that today at the assembly meeting.
Great, yes.
Thank you. Any other questions? I'm not seeing any. Thank you, Rick.
Thank you very much.
So we would normally move on to Assembly and School Board, but we do not have Assembly and School Board present. I also don't see Farina. So
No.
Could we take a couple of minutes if you want to call off, or if we
I don't have her number.
Ah,
I
right,
just
okay.
ran it via email, so
Yeah,
unless somebody
yeah.
has Brian's number wants to.
so something probably came up.
It's not in the one that I have.
Farina Brown, are you talking about Farina Brown?
Yes.
Yeah, he was supposed to jump on today, but then.
Oh, okay. I will find my phone and text her real quickly.
Thanks, Marie.
Okay.
You're welcome.
We will take about, somebody wants to
I just
take
think-
about 3 or 4 minute break.
I got this, if you were at last meeting, I got this lovely sheet on the rezone tools from Daniel, and I will put it in the recap for our virtual friends. But I just wanted, I don't know, I got it, I'm sure, as a follow-up. I didn't really.
So I'm sorry, who did this come from?
Daniel McKenna at,
Okay.
McKenna Foster. Well, at planning. I believe it was a follow-up to our conversation last month on the targeted 10-year comp plan. I did also hear that there might be some community engagement, around that plan outside of planning and zoning, and so I asked some follow-up questions and I will share as they arise.
We're going to reconvene.
Just.
We're just going to reconvene briefly.
Probably been on their radar screen.
So we're back on the record. We just got a message that we think we're unavailable, so we will follow up and try and reschedule. So that brings us almost to the end of our television meeting.
We can
do. We can do comments if anyone would like to make.
Time for comments period.
If anybody, if any delegates or anyone wants to make any comments, now's a good time.
Well, I like the transportation there, I know, it was. I see that. I got some good information.
Did you go last year too?
Yeah, I thought this one was better than last.
That's what I saw from the photos too. I was curious the comparison.
Yeah.
So, okay, good. They're good.
Yeah.
I mean,
They had snacks.
they kind of collapsed.
They have snacks.
They had.
They always have snacks.
Everything else like collapsed during COVID, like they had a much smaller venue for you to, but now they've got that whole auxiliary gym and you.
Yeah, but they made the UAA for the last.
Do we want to
2 or
go
3
in
years?
Yeah.
But over, in that other area. They didn't meet in the gym.
One year they didn't have anyone, they were in the hallway,
Oh, no.
the atrium area.
Yeah, just up and down.
Yeah, it's, yeah, last 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any other comments?
I want to just comment as well that I did go to the transportation fair as well, and I was thoroughly impressed and really excited. One thing that I very much appreciated was the general push for responsiveness by the community planning department and the DOT, because at every booth and every stall, they had these maps or where they wanted you to put sticky notes or pins, and they wanted you to fill out so many surveys, but for the surveys, what they are is that they wanted to actively hear what everyone that came in there had for an idea or an improvement or what they wanted. And I genuinely felt very happy that they wanted to hear from people. And yeah, that's my comment.
Thank you. Any other comments from those online? Seeing any hands, you can just speak up if you wish to. Anything else in the room? Okay. Please go ahead.
Yeah, just going back to the, numerous AOs that the assembly postponed from last week's meeting, and I guess are gonna be on next week's meeting, and, you know, that all kind of dovetail into amending Title 21 or taking actions with regard to, you know, rezoning or updating plans and that sort of thing. It's just really difficult to know how councils can be more effective in having their, you know, positions taken into account. Because my unfortunate phrase now is, by the time you provide anything in front of a microphone, it's too late. They never ask questions of testifiers. They don't ever, I mean, hardly ever. It's rare. It's the exception versus the rule. That once you've testified, anybody's testified, that then they say, you know, before we, you know, take any action, I'd like to say that person that testified on that and made that point, I thought it was really good. So what do we do? You know, should we amend on the spot or should we postpone so that the subcommittee can take that into account? You know, they've already made up their minds. It's very rarely amended. And it's just not effective. And it's kind of like what John said, we're just not being heard, whether it's the CIP ranking list or, you know, giving input on these massive amounts of changes to Title 21.
It would, I mean, I agree in terms of Title 21 is such a complex beast. it's very, very hard to, I think there aren't that many people who have deep enough knowledge of it to bring up some of the concerns or questions early enough process. It would be great if there was some way to sort of measure the effectiveness of public engagement.
That would be great. Oh, yeah.
Difficult, but, you know.
I do a lot of research on civic engagement and how to have collaborative meetings and what it means to be collaborative with your community outside of 3-minute testimony periods. And Paul said work sessions are the place to make a comment. You actually can't comment in work sessions. You can
Say one word.
You can comment in committee, you can't comment in work sessions. And so there isn't, and even then it's still 3-minute testimony most of the time. So there isn't a place for collaboration unless they're opening something special, like what John got to work on with site access, right? Where they invited you. And so we are pursuing an opportunity through the National Civic League. They have a project called Better Public Meetings. You can look them up online. And that is where they work with communities. They have a side project called Democracy Innovations to innovate new and creative ways to connect with people. Some of that is through digital platforms. Some of that is through working, creating new spaces that still follow code and law, but to try and break outside the idea that like the only time you can comment is the 3-minute meeting. So we've been, literally on Friday, I found out that this could be something, I spoke with them because I was just interested in some of the tools that National Civic League offered. And they were like, we're actually looking for our next cities for this Better Meetings project and Better Public Meetings. And I was like, oh, okay, what about Anchorage? You know, and they were really interested in the council system and, particularly because the council systems have existed for 50 years. We're a strong system. I won't say that we're always the most efficient or that we operate at best capacity 100% of the time, but we're very consistent. And when I've talked to cities outside of Alaska about our system, they actually are quite impressed with how stable we've been and that there has always been that level of representation for, I mean, this is 50 years. This is 50 years of unification this year. And so 76 is like when the Federation formally started. And so I think they were really interested that councils get to exist in that way. And so what would it look like to have a more collaborative process? And so I'm trying to get them to say yes to Anchorage. I'm trying to make this a thing. And then once I know more, I really will like blast it out to all the councils and try, but it would be a huge public process where we would do outreach and surveying and community conversations around what works and what doesn't work. And then we would try stuff. They would actually, part of this project is that they would say, we want you to try something new. We're going to give you an idea. We're going to give you a bunch of ideas, but we're going to give you an idea and we want to see you do it. And so we've gotten some buy-in from the city on like actually participating in that and actually trying some new things. And so I'm really hoping that this comes through, and it's all very soft. And it came into my lap on Friday and I talked to 1 million people in the middle of a conference. I talked to 1 million people. And I got a bunch of yeses and a lot of people were like really excited. And I think we're at this really cool point where a lot of people agree with you, Kathy. A lot of people feel like there's not enough representation, that there's the same people in the room, and everybody wants more people in the room. Everybody wants more participation and everybody wants to stop coming in and giving 3 minutes, and they want to feel like they're heard in the process and that what they say matters. And so like, why don't we try something new? And why don't we look at some cool things?
So I find the most effective tool for me as an individual, I'm obviously not representing the Fairview Council on these things, but I email. And as soon as I see what's coming up in AO, and then I read text, and if it's something that's an issue close to my heart, I email. And oftentimes I get great responses back. I have to say the engagement I find is actually been really positive for me. But I tend not to go to the assembly meetings, and I've never testified in an assembly meeting. I always testify before. and as soon as possible. And what I often hear, especially from Dan Baldwin, he's so good. He's so good at getting back. I don't know if anybody else has commented with him, but whether he says, you know, yes, no, whatever, well, thank you, he at least acknowledges, Chris Constant, he's another really good acknowledger. Mayor LaFrance is a really good acknowledger, of emails that, you know, thank you for your input, whatever. So I kind of feel like actually I am being heard in doing that. Just-
And I think the big thing with the AOs, especially with regard to Title 12 law, is the time period, basically in 2 weeks,
Yeah.
make comments, and not really looked out for this stuff. By, I mean, even today, they had a special assembly meeting, covered some of the stuff they missed at the last assembly.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they seem to have a lot of stuff going on, so those meetings are adjourned at midnight, and everything gets kicked down the road. I've had numerous cases in front of the assembly for stuff I worked on, and it's taken 3 assembly meetings with stuff that actually get hurt, which I think is ridiculous, especially for a simple reason. Okay, so you know, something needs to change. You know, they kind of hurrying their own stuff through. Meanwhile, those of us that are on development, you know, our stuff's getting slightly delayed. I'm sure some people would like that, but find very counterproductive. It's not all my clients are, it times money developing.
I've got to make the comment that even the stuff they're trying to rush through still ends up taking a long time. I mean, there is this like, it can be 2 weeks, but it tends to be.
It
But it ends up
claims 2
taking
weeks,
lots of
but-
months.
Well, and then
So
they have
we-
S versions.
Yeah.
They have S versions and then S1 version.
Right. It goes on
How
and
many
on.
balls do I need to juggle to get my head wrapped around what the S version is versus the original versus now the S version? It's
I think what-
crazy.
The point of this discussion, I mean, we know on, particularly on land use, there's a lot of churn, there's a lot of pressure to make things, to change the way we're doing it. It really is broad than that. I think it's just, the timing has worked out so well in terms of this potential opportunity coming our way. But just even thinking about and discussing it, I think is helpful. You know, we should all be thinking about how can things be better.
Yeah.
And also, I thought the message, to me, the thing that was really positive was the message coming back from the specifically was actually we have a lot of strength here already. I think I tend to see the problems on a glass half empty person sometimes, but you know, it's easier to see the problems sometimes than celebrate the successes. But we actually have a very strong system here, and it's nice to hear that acknowledgement as well. So outside,
Yeah.
should
See Salt Lake City's community councils. Woof, messy.
Any other general comments? Otherwise, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, it's everybody.
But they're a little for